Yeah, well, first of all, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Wayne Simmonds. This guy, I've only been here since early December, and I can just tell you my dealings with him were outstanding. Through this process, he was outstanding. He's a true Flyer, heart and soul guy, cares, competes. Just go back to the game on Saturday night, how hard he played, and knowing that this could happen, and he left nothing, he left everything on the ice. So he's done a great job for the Flyers, I believe, for eight seasons, if I'm not mistaken, and one of the premier power forwards in the game. So I can't say enough about Wayne. And with respect to Nashville, they're getting a heck of a player, and he'll be a great playoff player for them. And I know Wayne is, I won't speak for him, but I know he's very thankful for his time with the Flyers and also very excited for this opportunity to go to one of the top teams in the league. With respect to the process, this is, the calls have been coming for a while with Wayne being a pending unrestricted free agent. And I started getting some calls in January. We went through a really tough stretch there, 6-2, and I think I met with this group shortly after that, and I remember saying we're going to need a big run here. We're going to have to run off a lot of games to get back in it, and sure enough, we did. So I wouldn't say I was actively working the phones until about the last week, and we made a decision if we could get the right offer for Wayne, we would do it. Give him an opportunity, and also maybe make sure we're getting some pieces back for a guy that's a pending UFA. With Nashville, I've been speaking with David off and on. I've been speaking with a lot of people off and on. This was a crazy market this year, and I'm sure everybody noticed that, I don't know if it's a fact, but it sure seems like there were more quality forwards available this year than in previous years. There was a lot of big-name offensive talents available. And so if you were a team that was buying, you had a lot of different options. There was a lot of shopping to be done and a lot of conversations to be had, and I think it took a while for every player to find the proper seat, so to speak. So, we made the trade. I think I got off the phone with David at 2:57 p.m. I once got off the phone at 2:59 to make a trade 1 minute before the deadline, but this went right down to the wire. We exhausted, every avenue, made every call. We were weighing a couple offers at the end, and ultimately for us, this trade made the most sense. So crazy few days, some twists and turns, lots of concepts floated, and again, a lot of noise out there with all the other players potentially being available. And I think teams were juggling 2 and 3 players and comparing offers. So it was incredibly interesting, exciting, and frankly exhausting. But I think we got to the right place. For us, we have an awful lot of prospects. We have an awful lot of picks. And there were opportunities to get multi-pick packages. But for the Philadelphia Flyers right now, to add a 24-year-old player that can step right into our lineup and play, a player that was a first-round pick by Chicago a few years ago. In fact, last year was traded by Chicago to Nashville for a first-round pick and a prospect as Nashville loaded up for a playoff run. I mean, I think we're getting a young player with upside that can fit into our room and plays a gritty game and can hopefully help out in that regard and help fit into the room and bring another player into the room. I didn't feel it'd be right just to come back and say we got a pick or an 18-year-old player that might be able to help us in 4 years. So tried to balance the present with the future, and I think with Hartman, who hopefully has a present and a future, and we got a pick thrown in as well. So I think this will be a good opportunity for this team to keep clicking.
What would you say Ryan Hartman's ceiling is, and do you think he could be the type of player that can play in all situations, power play, PK, or how do you see him fitting in?
Well, ultimately that'll be up to Scott. I mean, he's a young man that has moved around the lineup. He's mostly a right winger. He has played a little bit of center, but he'll be a right winger here, most likely. He has played specialty teams. I mean, he's kid a couple years ago, he had 19 goals, and I think he did. I'm not even sure he averaged 13 minutes a game that year. So he's a kid that was a real good two-way player in junior hockey, and just still a young player finding his way. And he's played on 2 really strong teams, deep teams, and yet he's been a good contributor. So for for us, we'll see how it fits, but certainly he'll be a guy that should fit in our top 9 and probably can step into the role that that Wayne had, and we'll see from there in terms of how Scott uses him, and I'm sure Scott will be able to speak to that as he gets more familiar with him.
Regarding Hartman and his play in Chicago, he looked like he was really developing quite well. He got traded for that first-round pick, and then didn't seem to quite click for him in Nashville. Based on what the research you guys did, why didn't it work in Nashville, and why do you think it will work better here?
You know, that's hard to say. I mean, I think it worked pretty well at times in Nashville. I was in, Minnesota the last couple of years, so I saw him in both Chicago and Nashville, and he played well the games I've watched him play, and he played pretty well in the playoffs last year. Nashville's a deep team. They have a lot of players, and it's hard for me to say. Again, we didn't feel he played poorly in Nashville at all, but I think with us, he'll get an opportunity to step in and play a pretty important role, and there's a lot of upside in a 24-year-old kid.